Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I'm coming to you with my weekly reading update. This is for week number 19 and it is May the 7th through May the 13th. So today is Sunday. Happy Sunday everybody. Happy Mother's Day to everyone who celebrates. I hope that you all have a fabulous, fabulous day. I am going later with my mom up to my aunt's house. My husband's going to stay home. He's got some laundry to do and he's watching that new Muppet show on, I think it's at Disney Plus, whatever. So yeah, he likes to enjoy and relax on his Sundays, which I totally understand. So yeah, so we're going to do that. And then, that's pretty much my plans for today, other than filming this video and doing some reading and some crafting myself. So yeah. So anyway, guys, I have 5 books to share with you this week. This was a good reading week. Everything though, except for one book, was like middle grade YA kind of an idea. So I've got mystery, middle grade, and some romance thrown in here as well. But as usual, timestamps in the description box below if you guys want to jump ahead to any part of this video, so you know if that's all you're interested in hearing about. I also have a little book haul, which I will talk about obviously when I get there. And I do have some crafting, you guys. I finished a pair of socks, so I'm very excited. So I'm going to show those to you guys as well. So anyway, let's get into, sorry, I keep glancing down at my notes here. So let's get into what I read this week. So the first book that I finished this week was The Mystery of the Tolling Bell by Carolyn Keene. I gave this book 3 stars. It's book number 23 in the Nancy Drew Mystery Story series, the old Yellow Spine books, as I like to call them. This one was fine. These are all fine. I mean, Nancy is perfect at everything. Am I right? So in this one, they travel to this little seaside community, and Nancy's father was supposed to meet them there, and then he ends up getting kidnapped. And there is this bell in this cave that when the high tide comes in, the bell rings, and there's this man who wants to collect the bell, like he collects bells. And then there's a woman selling these cosmetics and they're like counterfeit. There's a lot that happens in these books, my friends. I know the question came up on whether or not these would be considered to be middle grade. And I think I would consider this series to be more middle grade. And even though it tends to be some of the stuff that's discussed. Now, I mean, things were different in the 40s and 50s and whenever this book was originally published. But you know, I don't see kids knowing a lot about some of the stuff that's discussed. Like, the first book, they talk about probate law. In the very first Nancy Drew, The Mystery of the Old Clock, or The Secret of the Old Clock. I'll never forget that. I'm like, really? This is a book for young people? I had no idea what that was. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, these are fun though. You know, I love Bess and George. Like, they were both in this story with Nancy. And I do like these old editions. Like, I do read them digitally. I get them from my library. And the great thing is that when they converted them to Kindle format or an ebook format, they left the original artwork. So they have like drawings throughout the story, like maybe 4 or 5 drawings of like a scene, and they're a lot of fun, you guys. Like, honestly, they are a lot of fun. And you know, just to see how Nancy is pictured and stuff like that. And I do know that my understanding is that most of these original ones have been rewritten, that maybe they were not as politically correct, if we will, as they are for now. And even now, like from when these were probably rewritten, there would still be, like, today's readers might find some things questionable. I read them for what they were. You know, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot of discussion right now about authors' works being rewritten and whether that should be a thing or not. And, you know, the way I look at it is that the authors were writing for the time period. I mean, I'm not forgiving that, but they didn't necessarily mean any. And I don't know, because I can't talk to these authors. Some of them are dead. You know, most of them probably are. And in terms of Carolyn Keene, there was no one person who was Carolyn Keene. There was a bunch of different authors writing Nancy Drew, right? So we can't speak on what their thought process was. But my assumption is, I'd like to think anyway, that they didn't mean any malicious intent behind. So, like, for example, the biggest thing in these books tends to be the way they discuss Bess. Because Bess is slightly overweight, and whereas nowadays she's probably like my size. She's probably completely normal. But it's the same with Sweet Valley, right? Like, it talks in all the books how Elizabeth and Jessica are a perfect size 6. I'm like, dude, I haven't been a size 6 since birth. But, like, and I think if they were, I think that they have been, like, rewritten some of them, and it's, like, a normal person like myself is considered to be chubby, you know what I mean? So I prefer the term fluffy, but that's what I mean. Like, that's the biggest thing that I take away from some of these books is, like, the way that Bess is discussed, and, that she likes food, and she's slightly overweight, and, things like that. Anyway, I'm rambling on. It's a cute story. I like these ones. The next one that I finished was another middle grade, and this was The Sisters of Luna Island by Stacy McAnee, excuse me. I gave this book 4 stars. I did listen to this on audio. It was narrated by Justice Bodding. And I enjoyed this one. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but I did enjoy it. I got very much practical magic vibes from this one in sense of the sisters on this island. So essentially the plot of this one is that these sisters come from a long line of, they're not witches, but magic workers, essentially. And the founding families of this island, and the island is off the coast of the Carolinas, either North or South Carolina, I can't remember which one. And the founding families were all magic workers. Well, the only ones, like, they could do different elemental type magics. The only family left are the sisters and their mother, the LaFleurs, I believe. And Marigold is our main character, and she has 2 older sisters named Birdie and Lou. And the sisters start acting very strange. They all used to get along fantastically. Now all of a sudden they're at each other's throats. There's arguing all the time. There's this strange smell that's coming from their property. And a year ago, something really bad happened, and their father ended up getting injured, and he left. Like, the parents had separated already, and then he left the island to do rehabilitation on the mainland, I guess. So there's these kind of things going on with Birdie and Lou, and Marigold is, of course, concerned. So she ends up going to her grandmother and trying to find out what it was. Well, supposedly there's a curse on the family that any family who has more than one daughter, one of the daughters will end up either leaving the island permanently or dying. So, Marigold is trying to stop that from happening. And that's essentially what the plot of this book is. And I liked it. The thing is, though, is like, okay, so Marigold's only 12. And I get it. That coming from a 12-year-old's perspective, this is the way you're going to think. And there's a part in the book where I think it's Birdie. She's the oldest one. She's almost ready for college. And she's talking about going away to college. And Marigold is getting very angry at her, being like, you promised you wouldn't leave. And I thought, well, you can't ask somebody not to leave, not to go on with their life, just to stay here with you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess I found Marigold to be slightly selfish, but then again, she's 12, right? So, like, take it with a grain of salt kind of an idea. I mean, it did get better at the end, but she kind of, I have to be honest, Marigold annoyed me just a little bit throughout this book, which is why it didn't get a higher star rating from me. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was a really enjoyable read. I love the magical element of it. They do, like, aromatherapy magic with smells. And I thought that was very interesting. And they talk about intent, how, magic or not, if you put something out there in the universe, you talk bad about somebody or you do whatever, that could come back on you. So you've got to be very careful about what you say and what you do and things like that. So I did like that lesson that was throughout the book. I thought that was really good. So yeah, I enjoyed this one, 4 stars. The next one that I finished was the romance for this week, and that was One Little Indiscretion by Josh Woods. I gave this book 3 stars. This was the first book in the Murphy International series. This is part of my ongoing Harlequin project. It is a Harlequin desire novel. And this one was good. That was the story of Sadie and Carrick. So this one, right from the beginning, right from chapter 1, this one jumps right in with the spice factor. So Sadie and Carrick, now the thing that got me about this one, the reason it didn't get a higher star rating is I felt like I was missing a book. And I even went back several times to double check to make sure this was in fact the first book in the series. Because it starts off that there had been this party and Sadie had gotten she choked on something and she got injured. And but we don't see that scene. So I'm wondering if Josh Wood wrote another group of books that ties into this series, or is this is an offshot. That would have been nice to know. you know, I did check Goodreads. I checked Harlequin. I should have checked Fantastic Fiction. That's the one place I didn't look. Or Josh Wood's website would have probably been great as well. But I felt like I was missing a little something at the beginning, and I was a little bit confused, to be honest. So anyway, Carrot comes over a day or two later to make sure that she's okay. They end up falling into bed together because they have this attraction to each other. Now, she is working for him. He owns this, like, I guess, like, art house kind of a place. And she has a PhD in art history. So her job, which I think is very cool, is she determines whether paintings are authentic or not. So that's pretty cool. So there's these other women who have inherited this huge estate, and there's all these paintings, and Sophie is authenticating some of them. Or Sophie, not Sophie, excuse me, Sadie is authenticating some of them. So, you know, her and Carrick are working very close together. Then, you know, the one little indiscretion, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Surprise, she's pregnant. You find this out very, very early on in the book. She came off of, both of them are divorced. She came from a bad marriage. Her ex-husband was a dick, to be fair. And Carrick came off of a bad marriage that his wife would have been perfect with Sadie's ex-husband. Let's put it that way. So yeah, so they're both coming from a bad place. They don't want to fall in love again. You know, like, that's kind of the scenario. I like this. I didn't love it. Again, I felt like I was missing something at the beginning. And the thing was, too, is that I felt like, okay, so I know the Desire books tend to be higher on the spice meter, which is great. But this one, I had a hard time with, were they actually in love? Or was this all like a lust situation? Because there is a lot of spice in this book. Like, and again, that's fine. I'm not complaining about it. But it just felt like they had nothing else to build the relationship off of. You know, like, they spent so much of the book kind of only doing one thing, if you will, than actually having, like, conversations with each other. So anyway, that was my thought process on it. I am, of course, going to continue on with the series because part of my Harlequin project, I'm reading through these. So yeah, it is what it is. I did enjoy it. It was a fun read. And 3 stars for me, as I've said before, is an average star rating. It didn't tick me off, but I didn't love it, so it is what it is. The next book that I finished was Dawn and the Halloween Mystery by Anna M. Martin. I gave this book 4 stars. This is Babysitter's Club mystery book number 17. So this one was really, really fun. This one happens around the same time period as Marianne Breaks the Rules, which is the one that I read before this one, because they both take place at Halloween, but Marianne's book takes place in Connecticut. This one takes place in California because Dawn's still in California. And it's leading up to other events that are going to be happening. I think in a couple months I should get to the next super special, which is Here Comes the Bridesmaids, which is Dawn's dad is getting married to her new stepmom. And then there's a family in Stony Brook that's getting... Anyway, it's a thing. So for this book, there... And I just love, love, love the small town simplicity in this story. So the book starts off with there was a robbery. A robbery at gunpoint, so don't get me wrong, that this robber flashed a weapon and stole money from the till of a convenience store. Dawn happened to be sitting in the car outside the store and saw this person run out. And the person was wearing a very creepy, like, clown mask, like, with pink hair. And I'm just saying that made me creeped out. So then the town, this small town in California, outside of Anaheim, decides to put a curfew in because there was one armed robbery in one convenience store. And I'm like, oh, bless small town life. City of Toronto be like, that's a Friday. Nobody was hurt in this or anything at all like that. So Halloween's kind of been canceled for the kids, and the kids in the town are really upset, of course, right? So Dawn and her friends decide to kind of put together a Halloween event at the elementary school. They get permission and all those good things. But Dawn, of course, takes it upon herself to try and find this person because she thinks the kids should get to go out and do trick-or-treating. So that's kind of the basis of the story. I did like this one. The reason this got like a 4-star, typically the Babysitter's Club books get like a 3.5, 3-star from me. This got a 4-star because it's Halloween, and I love Halloween. And I also love, like, so Babysitter's Club is a ridiculously long-running series. Like, I think it spanned over 120, 130 books. And then the mysteries, I think you had something like 40 mysteries, like 15 super special. Like, there was a lot of books. This series ran for over a decade. And I do like when they threw in, because they didn't do it at the beginning. They didn't really acknowledge the seasonal changes, and I think that they didn't want to do that because the girls never age. Like, you go through several, same with Sweet Valley, you go through several Christmases, Halloweens, birthdays, stuff like that, right? They don't acknowledge birthdays in these books either. Like, the girls at one point all turn 13. So they age from the first 4 books, they're 12, and then they age to 13 in the following books, but they don't age any further past that. But I do like when you get seasonal books. You didn't see them very often in the Babysitters Club, and I think that's why I really like them. I think, again, because they didn't want to acknowledge time, that these were just kind of like ongoing. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, it's a thing. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. And I know she wasn't a lot of people's favorites, but I really liked Dawn. I know some people found her to be very pushy and, with her beliefs on the way people should eat and think and stuff like that, but I like Dawn. Sorry. And then the last book that I finished this week, I just finished this one last night, was Ghostlight by Kenneth Oppel. This is another middle grade. And I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. So for me, this one was definitely a 4-star read. It got the extra half a star, mainly because it was set in my hometown of Toronto. And a lot of what was discussed in here, I knew. I knew the locations. I knew what they were talking about. And I love that the main plots of the story took place on Center Island, or the Toronto Islands, which you don't see very often at all. For location for me, this really, really was great. But outside of that, this was a fun story. So my only thing is that I question this being middle grade. And the only reason I question this being middle grade is because the main characters in this book are all 16 years old. In my opinion, if you're old enough to drive, I don't think it should necessarily be considered a middle grade. But it read younger than 16. So it's like the characters were 16. And I think that they did that, or the author did that, to allow the fact that they have summer jobs. Like, you're not going to get a 12-year-old working a summer job on Center Island, doing a ghost tour group, right? So I think he had to age them for that. But it's still read middle grade. Like, it was a very fine line. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So anyway, our main character's name is Gabe, and he works on Center Island, and he does ghost tours. And the Gibraltar Lighthouse is what he talks about. And the story opens up, though, at the prologue, which is like sometime in the 1800s, when this girl named Rebecca and her father was the lighthouse keeper. Both of them are killed by a ghost. And you find out right at the beginning of the book that the lighthouses are actually what kill ghosts. And there's a special light that can sit over the regular light of the lighthouse, that is the Ghostlight. And it kills ghosts like that get bigger, because ghosts eat other ghosts. This book, guys, no joke, got creepy. So anyway, Rebecca, who's been sleeping for 200 years because she's, dead, her ghost is woken up at certain points, but now she's awoken again by Gabe pretty much talking about her. So it's called clasping with somebody. So she holds his hand, and then he can now see and hear her. And they kind of go on this quest with his 2 friends to find this ghost light so they can destroy this really bad ghost that took and consumed Rebecca's father, along with all these other, people and spirits and things like that. So I don't want to give too much more than that away. I liked it, you guys. Outside of the Toronto references, even if you're not native to the city, I think you would still enjoy this one. Like I said, it had a good amount of creep in it. There was parts of the book that, especially when they talk about this bad ghost named Viker, he was creepy. In my head, I'm picturing him and I'm thinking, I wouldn't want to watch this as a movie because of the way that they described him. It would just be totally creeped out, with these weird eyes and extra limbs and a jaw that anyway, it was creepy, you guys. It was really creepy. But I do have to share at the very beginning of the book, I'm so glad. I mean, I did listen to this on audio, I should mention. It was narrated by James Cribbins. So I listened to part of it on audio, but I am glad I have the physical edition because there is a map at the beginning of the book. So there's Center Island, Toronto Island, and then the downtown, and I live over here. So yeah, so this was a lot of fun, I liked it, and I'm really, really glad I read it. So that is everything that I have read this week, you guys. Pardon me, I've got the hiccups now. So let me just have a quick sip of coffee this morning. So, what am I currently reading? I didn't bring anything in here with me to show you, so I thought I would just flash it up here on the screen. So I am still reading Lightning Strikes Twice by Elizabeth Herb. I am about 30% of the way through this. Yesterday I focused on finishing the Babysitters Club book and Ghostlight. So this one did not get read at all yesterday, but my plan is to sit and do some good reading on this one today. I'm really enjoying it. It's a Harlequin special edition. I am also going to be starting today on audio The Firefly Summer by Morgan Matson, which is another middle grade book, and I'm very excited about this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm definitely down for the summertime vibes. And I will also be finishing today Temporary Wife Temptation by J.C. Lee, which is the final book in the box set of these Desire novels that I've been reading over the last few weeks. And then tomorrow I get to start my next box set of books, and I'm very excited. There will be a video coming on Tuesday with me talking about those books, and I think I'm going to do that going forward and sharing with you guys the books that get picked week to week or bi-weekly or whatever the case may be. So in case you guys want to read any of them with me, you can. So anyway, that's what I'm currently reading. What else do we have here? A book haul. Let's do a book haul, then I'll show you guys my crafty stuff. So, side note on this book haul. There is a much bigger book haul that you guys are going to see on the channel on Thursday. It was already filmed. I basically, short story, I talk about this in that book haul video. I have a friend who we were in touch months ago, and she's like, I have some books. Do you want them? And I said, yes, please. And she was driving through. She lives in Ottawa, and she was driving through into the city to go to the airport to pick up her son. So she dropped them off at my house. Now, I haven't seen her since 2019, so it was an extra bonus because I got to see her and I got books. She gave me 3 huge bags of books. A lot of Nora Roberts, a lot of historical, some old school historical. So it was like a mystery on box because I had no idea what was in there. So you guys, that video will be out on Thursday. So I did already film it. I still have to edit it, but that won't take me much time at all. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. I have no idea how many books were there. I want to say close to 50, but I could be wrong. So yeah, but then anyway, after I filmed that, Garrett and I went out yesterday. We went to the thrift store and I bought some books. So truth be told, when I showed up at this, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, when I got to the category books, that they had a bunch of, they had to have like 20 or 30 of the Kismet romances, which was another type of category romance. I can't remember, were they put out by Zebra? Anyway, I was going to get them and I had a bunch of them in my hands. Then I got thinking, I'm like, I'm already collecting Harlequin, Mills and Boon. Do I really need to collect another? Like, if I had found ones by authors that I knew, like I do have some Kismet, some Love Swept on my shelves, and those are mainly like by Jill Shalvis or other authors that I'm familiar with. But I thought I just didn't need any more, another collection essentially. And those are a lot harder to come across. So anyway, I ended up getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books yesterday. So let me show them to you. So I always gravitate towards the Christmas books. 'Tis the Season by Judith Arnold, a Harlequin super romance novel. These over here. Got an Intrigue, Fake ID Wife by Patricia Rosemore. So there's that one. An old Harlequin super romance, Dead of Love by Karen Young. So there's that one. I should actually, hold on. So this first one came out in November of 2000. So November of 2000, so that's 23 years old. This one came out in March of 2003, 20 years ago. And Dead of Love by Karen Young came out, when? What's the date on this one? 91, May of 1991. So yeah, oldie but a goodie. And then we got a nice old silhouette romance here, number 76 by Laura Hardy. Burning Memories, it's called. Look at that one. Oh, and I said it shows here, it says printed in Canada. It's very cool. So there's that. I'm going to save that one for last because that was kind of like my find of the day. I got this old Harlequin romance, number 2155. There was a bunch of old Harlequin romances here. Oh, bear with. Let me see if I can get a date on this one here. Harlequin edition published in April of 1978. We have Island Masquerade by Sally Wentworth. Yay! This is what I love hunting out, are these really old ones. This one came out in... I want to be very gentle with some of these. Harlequin edition published in August of 1975. Mills and Boon edition published also in 1975. We have Country of the Vine by Mary Wibberley. Another old Harlequin romance, and they smell old. Like when I opened it up, you could smell like old. And then I got this older one, this older intrigue novel that came out in 99. Father, Lover, Bodyguard by Cassie Miles. She is still writing a lot for the intrigue line, so yay to see one of her older ones. We have another older Harlequin romance. This one came out in 1977. The Whistling Thorn by Isabel Chase. Look at the outfits. Is that not absolutely delightful? When her uncle was reported missing in Kenya, Anat was persuaded by her mother to go there in search for him. Anat wasn't very enthusiastic about the idea. She would have been even less enthusiastic if she had realized that the overbearing James Montgomery was going to be in charge of the whole affair. It takes place in Kenya. Very interesting. Oh, okay, so like her shirt has like bears or leopards or something on it. Okay, that's fun. That's a fun detail. Really got to start reading some of these older ones. And then we have A Time for Trust by Karen Field. This one came out in 91 as well. So there's that one. Yeah, because the other one was number 450. Yeah, so we have 453 and 450 for the Harlequin Super Romance line. And then The Find, the oldest one I found. This is a reprint. This is not the original copy, I'm sure. Number 538 in the Harlequin Romance line. For context, for those of you who don't know, Harlequin Romance is currently publishing into the 4000s. So this came out in... Harlequin edition published 1960. The original, okay? Mills and Boon originally published this in 1960. This printing, the fourth printing, is from January of 1980. So again, not the original publication, but just the fact that I have a copy of this just makes me happy. And this is Strange Request by Marjorie Bassett. Look at how gothic does that look, you guys? With the castle. Like, oh. The child Sheila was hired to care for seemed not so much difficult as frightened. Who could blame him? Sheila wondered, an imaginative orphan living in a mansion on a sea-pounded cliff. But gradually Sheila was convinced that Robin's fear had nothing to do with imagination. What had really happened to Robin's mother? And why hadn't Richard Gregg, her employer, told her about that, or even mentioned the mysterious disappearance of his own wife? Oh, I think I need to read this one in October, you guys. Oh my god, that sounds so good. Oh, wow. Like, look at this. Like, look at the tiny writing, and then the... This one would be a great one for Garb August, don't you think? Yeah, so, anyway, any of these would, actually. Actually, you want a great Garb August title. Father, Lover, Bodyguard, I think would definitely fit the mix there. So anyway, yeah, so there's my book haul, you guys. I'm really super happy that I found those. And last but not least, let me show you the crafting. Like I said, I finished a pair of socks. I'm very, very happy with this. So... sock number 1, there's the heel, there's the foot. It doesn't look like much when I'm holding it up like this, but you know, it's a thing. And then we got finished the second sock. So that's where I was the last time I showed you a couple weeks ago. So I got all this done. I even have the ends woven in. We're good to go. So I have another pair of socks, and these are my strawberry shortcake socks. The yarn is from Dancing Dog Dye Works, who no longer does yarn dyeing, unfortunately. And this is, of course, a 3-stripe, and it is strawberry shortcake. Any other little girl in the 80s will absolutely know strawberry shortcake. So yeah, so they don't match, like, the stripes. I didn't purposely try and match up the stripes. So as you can see, like, this one starts with the pink at the top and then goes to the red and then the green. And then we've got it starts at the green, pink, right? So they're fraternal twins, as I like to say. And then even the toes don't necessarily match either. But that's okay, because you know what? It is what it is. They're fun stripy socks. So because I finished those, I'm like, ooh, I needed to cast on the second sock from a pair of socks that I started back in December of 2021. And these were my Christmas socks. So Rainy and I were doing these together, Rainy over at Rainy Day Reads. And we both cast on the same yarn. We picked the same yarn that year. And this is from Ravenswood Fiber Co. She is Canadian. She is down east. Definitely check out, if you order from her, you guys, the yarn comes packaged flat. So she uses one of those like vacuum seal things. So she puts the skein of yarn in and then vacuum seals it so it's like that thick. And then when you pop it open, the yarn explodes and it's lovely. So the colorway is called Sock Candy. It's one of her Christmas colorways from that year. So yeah, I absolutely love these. I had finished the first sock, which I will show you. So it's got sparkle in it too. So I'd finished the first sock and then promptly never cast on the second sock. So that's definitely something I got to do, which I did this week. So we have the second sock cast on. So I do from the top down. So I knit from the ribbing at the top, so it would go this way, down, and then I end at the foot. So yeah, so that is what I've gotten done so far. Not terribly exciting, but I hope to get some more done today. So anyway, guys, that is it. You know, not a terribly long video, but longer than last week's. And we shall see how I do this week with my reading. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all the things that I have to read. I enjoyed what I did read this week. It was quite good. And yeah, that's it. Let me know, guys, in the comments below, what did you read this week? What was one of your favorite books? Have you read any of these books that I've talked about today? Do let me know. And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.